Hello there, how's it going? Happy New Year, and welcome to the show I like to call Talking It Out, the show that changes its name every single time we do this.
Every week or every month now.
Every month now, yeah, every month it's a new show. So
just every episode is episode one.
that's right, yeah. And I'm of course joined by my friend Gabe here. Gabe, say hello.
Hello, I'm here too.
He is indeed. And so we're going to be talking about art games this week. Now,
All
Yes,
games are art.
Gabe, I'm glad you said that because the crowd is probably wondering to themselves, what is an art game? What is an art game? Oh, well, I'm glad you asked that, crowd. No, art games, they were coined, I think they were coined like back in, I want to say like around 2008, 2010, but they're games that are specifically made to be artistic, to make an artistic statement, or to, some people consider Braid an art game. I don't really. It's a platformer with an artistic like message to send, but like to me art games are more like Kentucky Route Zero and Proteus, and we'll be going over that pretty soon. But A Flower is another good example that came out for the PlayStation. They're games that just kind of like that you could probably hang up in a museum, a modern art museum, and people would be fascinated by them. Now, art games kind of came about because I remember there was an interview with like I think it was Ethan and Roper, I don't remember, and this probably isn't the catalyst for why art games exist, but I remember it kind of happening around the same time. Ethan and Roper did a thing on video games, and he said like video games will never be art because it has the interactivity portion to it, and that means you can alter the message. Was kind of his point of view. Never mind the fact that art is subjective anyway.
I have extremely I have extremely
disagreements with that statement.
Yeah.
I thought you might.
Like if it hasn't come up in previous episodes, I believe I said that all art is fan fiction. All media is fan fiction.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that did come up in an episode actually, and it's true. Like all works of art and media come
all media
from,
is derivative.
Yes, yeah, all media is derivative, and it all comes from what we experience. That being said, it definitely didn't stop people from like really pushing the boundaries of what video games could do and what they could be artistically. And so there was kind of this movement a while back to see like I remember Journey being a really big deal. And
I played Journey.
Yes. And what are your thoughts on Journey, Gabe?
Journey is a fantastic experience that I shared with my mother and brother over the course of an hour, and they loved it.
I agree, wholeheartedly. Journey is a great game.
It is the epitome of show don't tell.
Yeah.
And there are parts.
Absolutely.
Okay. Like there's no dialogue,
right?
But you are told a story.
Yeah.
You are shown.
You're shown a story. Yeah, through context and like the environment.
It's
You're taken on a journey, if you will.
Yeah, I believe.
Nyuk, nyuk, nyuk.
I believe Journey was once compared to the hero's journey, though. Like the hero's journey is intentionally like fairly loose. You can apply the hero's journey to a lot of things.
Yeah, you really could. It really is more of hero's journey is more of like a template.
Yeah, it's a template.
Really,
It's a template, but
yeah,
like Journey is great, really.
yeah,
There's
yeah. And the reason I bring this up is because like there have been, not necessarily that the trend has come back, but there have definitely been other games to sort of challenge what we consider art and what we consider video games. Yeah, a game in recent memory. And there are a lot of people who just despise art games, who don't think they have a purpose.
Dear Esther and
yes, Going Home, is that what it's called?
I think it's Gone Home. I played Gone Home.
Gone Home. Yeah, yeah. I thought Gone Home was fine, but
Gone Home was really neat.
Yeah. It had a story to tell. But I think the main thing is, like, a lot of people were saying, you know, it's you can't play it. Like, the game just tells a story. Like, you could have easily made it like a graphic novel and stuff. But I think there's something interesting to having a world and having the player be able to interact with it. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
It kind of lets the story unfold at your own pace rather than it being fed to you, regurgitated to you.
Yeah, I believe it's like there is a term among there is a genre of visual novel called a kinetic novel, and it is always going forward.
Interesting.
Wow. I'm not knowledgeable enough to really to really delineate between the two, but I am aware of a genre of visual novel called a kinetic novel.
Huh. Yeah, because I was just going to say I've never heard of that, so I'm fascinated now. But I have something to look up, I guess.
Kinetic novel is a linear type of visual novel where there is a linear storyline with no player choice or gameplay. Kinetic novel may also refer to the brand Kinetic Novel, related to the Japanese company Visual Arts. Neat.
Very neat. Very neat.
So a kinetic novel is there's a linear storyline, and there's just it's interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
There's
very intriguing. I remember.
I guess you could. Yeah, kinetic novel makes sense. Like, I mean, visual novels you compare to like Pick Your Own Adventure to a degree. Pick Your Own Adventure novels have more breadth.
Yeah. Kind of like Doki Doki Literature Club, and there are like different paths you can take, I guess.
But you always end up with one girl.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And I'll just leave that wording the way it is.
Yeah. No spoilers, please. Please. I didn't mean to do that. Oh my god. I'm sorry. Please understand. Anyway,
directly to you.
We would like to play. So I think that's very fascinating, and we're definitely going to get into like what is a good art game, what is a bad one, are they even, worth doing, aren't they? Let's start off first. Like, what are
your closing statements?
Yeah, first things first.
What be your closing statements? Anyway, go ahead.
What would you consider a bad art game? I know for me, what
are we putting the emphasis on? Like the art aspect or the game aspect?
Huh.
Because that's a discussion right there. Like, because if you like an interactive piece of art where there is an end goal, would where there is a fail state and an interactive piece of art that has a fail state would qualify as a game.
Yes. Yeah, you see, like one of the issues I had with the art game movement is it kind of implies that games aren't artistic on their own merits.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, like whether you're experiencing the story behind Chrono Trigger, or you're debating religion in Knit. All those things are like really artistic experiences to me. And I guess that really would be the question: is what gives an art game its merit? Is it its gameplay, or is it's the art behind it?
Art is experiential, right?
Right.
The person making the piece, the person making the piece, the person making the game are both taking something, converting it through their own lens, and producing an end result.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the main difference, is that like with like a regular video game, so to speak, and
even then, like it's really difficult, and I think that kind of brings to attack, at least between the two of us, because other people have a different argument. That's the whole conceit.
That's the whole conundrum. In my opinion, I would say if an art game fails to grip its viewer or give its message, or let me rephrase that: if it fails to convey its message properly, I would say that is a failure of an art game, in my opinion. Because I've definitely, and I'm kind of using this particular podcast as a sneaky way to talk about Y2K, because that game, I had a lot of things to say about that game, but then I was like, that's an indie game, and I don't really want to like trash indie games on my podcast,
I'm not familiar with Y2K.
Y2K was an attempt to make a postmodern RPG, and for those of you who don't know what postmodernism is, push his glasses up nose. It was like anti-art in a way. Like the very famous piece of postmodern art is that picture of the pipe with the words under it that says, "This is not a pipe." It's art that's meant to deceive the viewer intentionally. It's like the equivalent of like anti-humor, where a comedian goes up on stage and doesn't tell jokes for an hour. Because you're expecting one thing, and then it's kind of taking your expectations and moving them in a different way. The problem with Y2K, I think, is that they muddy the message to the point where it's convoluted, where it's like, did they intend to make this a bad game on purpose? Because the game is not fun at all. It's just really a boring, like it's full of like horrible grinding. All of your attacks have to do with like WarioWare style like mini games.
Okay, there is some merit to that.
Yeah.
I mean, got away with it.
True. Yeah, there is some merit to that. However, it didn't handle it very well in the sense that like after you've mastered the mini games, like the mini games aren't particularly interesting, and after you master them, it really just becomes a chore to deal with enemies more than anything else. Because like there's no challenge to the mini games. All you have to do is complete it, and then you do the attack. And likewise, they couldn't very well make all of the fights really difficult because like you also have to battle on top of completing a mini game. So because who wants to fight a really hard enemy after they've just completed like a difficult mini game puzzle, So all the fights are kind of pushovers, and it's kind of like it's weird. Like the story is written in such a way to where the main character is annoying on purpose. He's kind of an anti-hero kind of character, and it just comes across as it's like Lisa done poorly. Does that make sense?
Oh, this character. Okay.
Yeah. Toby Fox actually worked on a couple songs for it.
Okay.
Yeah, and the main creator got really offended because a lot of people were saying, this is lame, and he was like, he kind of did the Phil Fish thing where he was like, you guys just don't get it. You don't get it. And I would argue you didn't convey your message very well. If
I would convey well, I made what I made.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you don't have to be a particular, or not to mean to say, what I mean to say is you don't have to make good art to create art, right? You just have to make it. And I guess in that sense, it was accomplished, but I don't know. I get this overwhelming feeling that it's like, it could have been done so much better, It could have been.
Yeah, but that's like everything under the sun.
Right, yeah. And like I said, like I don't like to talk shit on indie companies too much. I'll talk shit on Nintendo all day. Because who gives a shit? They're a big company. They can take it.
They can take it.
Yeah. But like, smaller creators like this poured a lot of time into it, and it just didn't work out. So
like that happens. I mean,
yeah, for sure.
What was it? There was a game. Oh my goodness, what was it called?
Metal Gear Solid.
Was it Endless
Ocean?
It was something. It was something Nightmare.
Ooh.
It was black and white, very sketchy, side scroller horror game.
Oh, okay.
Hang on. Hang on. I need to check.
That does sound familiar.
This Nightmare.
Sound familiar.
I know where I can find the name of the game, so give me a second.
Okay.
But
well, you work on that.
Yeah, the creator of that game apparently had a previous video game venture.
Yeah.
And they they made a game, and apparently it did very poorly.
Yeah.
It was panned and not well received.
Yikes.
And the creator himself suffers from intense anxiety. And he...
I see.
He took the failure very...
Very hard.
Very, very hard.
Yikes.
And he was able to come out of it.
Yeah.
and he used that to make the game. Like he and
Yeah.
that game was very well received.
Oh, awesome.
It has a very distinct art style. As soon as I can find it, because
something Nightmare.
I really feel like Nightmare is in the title.
I would like to say to a lot of creators out there, don't feel distraught if what you create first won't be received very well. It likely won't.
Yeah, and that happens.
Yeah, I mean,
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's cool. What's his name? The guy who made Five Nights at Freddy's. He made what's his name again? Scott Cawthon. Yeah. Yeah, Scott Cawthon made a bunch of like weird
small, really kind of weird games.
Yeah, like kind of weird RPG kind of games.
And like
they were panned. Big time.
Yeah, that just kind of happens.
Yeah. But I mean, he took that failure and he made Five Nights at Freddy's out of it.
And now he's a millionaire.
And I don't. I was gonna say I don't think I have to explain to you why Five Nights at Freddy's is successful.
Never-ending Nightmares. That's
Never-ending Nightmare. Oh, I have heard of that. Yeah. Never-ending Nightmares. Let me look at
Never-ending Nightmares by Infinitap.
Infinitap
Games. Yeah, Never-ending Nightmares. It's a very stylistic. It's all black and white except for blood.
Oh yes, that's right. Yeah, I saw this at a GDC once, I think.
Yeah. It's been out for many years now.
For quite a while. Yeah. Oh yeah. This game is disturbing.
Yeah, and like the character has asthma, so he can't run forever, and he significant. He can't run for very long, and he has a lot of recovery time. So running is a last ditch
resort.
Last resort.
Yeah.
The main mechanics are moving, like at its core, it's moving left and right. So left and right, and you can it's a 2D game, but you can move up and down in the hall. You hide in like closets, and you have to. And there are monsters that you have to avoid on multiple occasions, as well as certain puzzle solving elements.
Yeah.
But dying in order to have access, it's pretty kinetic. The only the failure state is you have to try it again. Like you have to try where you failed.
You just try from where you left off. Yeah.
Because there are some fail states that are intended for completion. Like you need to die in certain
certain areas.
Yeah, like you can only hold one item at a time. So you go down into a dark room, holding a candle, and you reach the end of, and there's nothing in there. You reach the end of this hallway and you put it down so that you can pick up an axe. And as you start to go back, it's so pitch dark, but then you just start hearing your character be killed and torn apart, and then he wakes up in bed.
Shit.
The character always wakes up in bed, and that's how you start your current run of things. But when you
this
wake
game
up,
is brutal.
you have the axe. And I would consider this a more artistic game.
Yeah. For sure.
It is like this man channeled his anxiety and his sense of failure and his path
grieving,
and his path out of dread into this game, and
Yeah,
it
it paid
like
off, I would
yeah,
say.
it paid off. It was met with modest success.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's super cool. I I will say one thing that I think owes itself to Y2K's failure is that it also is a buggy game, you know, and it also it has a lot of glitches, and it wasn't put together very well. And I think that's something else that people don't talk about for art games that lends itself to their message, you know. No one wants to play a game that's buggy, obviously. It doesn't matter how pretty or how good your game looks.
Yeah,
Same thing for like gameplay. If your game isn't very fun to play,
yeah.
you
If your
know,
game isn't fun to play, no one's going to want to play it.
right? So no one's gonna want it. No one's gonna care about your message. um, there's that. What's that one game I'm trying to think of? Um, oh man, what's the game where you're like you're running around? You're like on an island, and there's all these like puzzle pads. Um, shoot, I can't think of the name of it. I can't think.
Is it new or old?
It's old. It's old. It's a really
Myst?
pretty game.
Mist.
Maybe. Yeah. That's no,
Okay,
it's not Mist, but
is it old? Is it 20 years old or is it 5 years old?
it's like 20 years old, probably. Which that doesn't help us. Uh, it's like
Not
Mist. It's very. I'll just use Mist as an example, but uh, I think a lot of people complain about Mist because there's not, you know, there's not much of a game there, but it is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. Although I would say, if you design it well, you could probably make a very interesting and rich game that doesn't have a whole lot of interaction.
Yeah.
Like in the case of like with the vanishing of Ethan Carter. That game has a mystery surrounding it, and so it's really interesting because you're lost, you don't know any of the answers, and you want to piece everything together.
Mm-hmm.
And so it kind of drives you to finish the game. Speaking of, while we're talking about good games, good art games, what are some examples of art games that you really enjoy, Gabe?
Oh, Journey is a given.
Journey, yeah,
Uh,
obviously. Journey is great.
let's see.
I played Kentucky Route Zero. I don't know if you ever played that.
I don't believe I did.
Yeah, but it's got a very minimalist art style, so the game looks really cool. But on top of that, it's got there's a mystery surrounding it. So it's like it's a point and click adventure game, where I think you're trying to solve the mystery of how this girl went missing, but it's also kind of fantastical. Like, you could talk to somebody, and then all of a sudden, like, you know, as you're talking to them, you end up in space. You know, like, it's kind of an otherworldly kind of
Yeah.
game, but it's very artistic in its approach. You know,
Yeah.
the game has a lot to say to you, not only through text, though it you know it does say a lot to you through text too, but
Yeah.
artistically the way the story unfolds really communicates to the player, you know, what the type of mood, the type of atmosphere they're trying to give you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. So I guess this is where I'm going to demonstrate where my kind of boundaries with regard to like what kind of art games do you like?
Uh-oh, here we go.
Yeah. So and I apologize in advance to the creators if for whatever reason they feel that I have insulted them by saying that their game is an art game.
You know where to direct your complaints.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like so Journey is a given again.
Right. Yeah.
I also rather uh like uh I think I'd put Limbo and Little Nightmares in there.
Yeah. I would. Um.
Uh, and then Owlboy. Owlboy is a phenomenal visual game with
Yeah.
a very charming story, very enjoyable characters.
Owlboy is fan freaking tastic. It kind of straddles that line between like a platformer and an art game too, doesn't it?
A little bit,
yeah.
So, getting into more controversial comparisons, I would say Soma.
Soma. I'm not familiar with that one.
It's from not Visceral. That's Dead Space. It's from the people who brought us Amnesia.
Oh yeah.
It's the sci-fi game that takes place in the depths of the ocean.
Oh right, yes, yeah, I have heard of this.
Like Soma, I guess I'm putting a lot of these. I'm putting a lot of like the games I'm naming are like, here are the games that have something to say to me.
Yeah.
Or portray something in a very
artsy kind of way.
Yeah, in a very artsy kind of way. And probably something what I'm about to say is probably the most controversial because like it's
Castlevania. No, I'm just kidding.
Art game is
yeah.
And mind you, I will admit this is kind of stretching it even by my definition. But I would say Spec Ops: The Line is it presents a very dreadful experience.
Yeah.
It is there are a lot of explicit artistic decisions in Spec Ops: The Line that convey a very specific type of tone and message for the game. And Spec Ops is, of course, an FPS franchise.
Right.
But I feel like Spec Ops: The Line, even though many people will, and even though many people, including people I know and respect, and I certainly understand their viewpoint on their contentions with the game and the way it delivers that message.
Yeah. Like people who have problems with the game?
Problems is a strong word for it.
Okay.
But they're
yeah, that's not so much what I mean.
It's more like I don't need the game to tell me I'm a bad person for me doing the thing the only thing that I could possibly do.
No spoilers, please, Gabe.
Yeah, I'm trying. Like I'm trying not to.
Yeah.
It's just that for people that prefer choice, there is there's more than one thing, but there is a specific the most contentious scene in of Spec Ops: The Line, and people that are familiar with it know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you'll know it when you know it.
There's a linchpin moment that is there's a linchpin moment in the game that is intended to be shocking, but you can't avoid it.
Yeah,
you have to do the thing.
Yeah,
and that's the main issue that the people that I've talked about it have with it.
I still haven't played that game. I I don't know what's wrong with me. I have it. I just haven't played it yet. But I know
it's a neat little romp.
yeah.
Like take it is people will also complain that it is a poor FPS.
Right.
And yeah, they're right. There are more satisfying FPS games out there. Like go play Halo or Destiny or
what
like,
have you.
or, yeah, your FPS of choice.
Yeah.
But like it is a subpar mediocre FPS, but I feel that it's intentional artistic decisions to that portray the events of the story, I feel qualify in my interpretation of what an art game is.
Yeah. Yeah, like what it has to tell you is very much an artistic like decision that is that is intentional.
And like similar to Soma, the Swapper, which is much more gamey because it's a puzzle game. The Swapper is another really good, like I feel, artistic game, and they do something really interesting with the like every object in the game is a 3D scan of a physical object.
Yeah.
And then they're like put together and arranged in the game, and animated in the game or in the engine. So,
cool.
So
pretty neat.
Yeah, there's some stuff like I think there's a handful of props that are literally 3D scans of like handmade props that are 3D scanned and used in the game.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's super cool.
Like you're like an escape pod ship, an escape pod style ship is clearly made out of a modified large tin can.
No
way. Like a can of tomatoes or something. Obviously, cool. There's no label, but the rigging and the shape, the rigging of and the shape of it are clearly like that kind of preserved can.
Yeah, it's like Chibi Robo.
And like I guess Papers, Please would.
Papers, Please. Yeah, I'd consider that an art game. Yeah, and Papers, Please is a very good game.
Papers, Please, Little Inferno.
I would say Spec Ops definitely pushes what the boundaries
pushes the intention of what a lot of people would consider an art game.
Yeah. Like I don't know if I would
like
per se.
I'm only saying this with like, okay, like I consider it 10% an art game. Like
sure.
Like it's like the Venn diagram is barely there.
Yeah.
Like me personally, I feel it qualifies.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. For sure.
Because they wanted to do something different. They wanted to shake things up.
Yeah, challenge the status quo.
Yeah.
Which that all great art does. That is getting me thinking though now. Would you consider games like Shadow of the Colossus an art game?
Boy.
Open a can of worms on that one.
So Shadow of the Colossus is something of a like it's a game near and dear to me. As is The Last Guardian. And
yeah, for sure. It's a great freaking game.
They're both absolutely very artistic games.
Yeah.
They have
a very intentional message to give the player.
I personally,
an implied message anyway.
So like any given thing is going to have a message, right?
Sure. But, yeah, that's true.
Or an implied message or a projected message, what have you. Like people are going to interpret anything from
Yeah,
from anything.
that's true.
But I think like there is. I would definitely consider Shadow of the Colossus and The Last Guardian to be experiences,
Yeah.
and that's definitely where and that's I definitely find Shadow and Last Guardian to be more closely related to Journey
Yeah.
than contemporaries. Which I say contemporaries, but the only contemporaries to Shadow of the Colossus and The Last Guardian are Shadow of the Colossus and The Last Guardian.
Yeah, yeah, or our Shadow of the Colossus clones.
Yeah,
you know.
Pray for the Gods, which I have yet to play. I do want to get around. I feel those are a bit more gamey than Journey.
Yeah, same. I agree.
There's a bit more game there. But
I definitely feel like
but Gabe, you're
Yeah, go ahead.
considering you're considering FPS to be barely an art game. Why are
Gabe.
why are you so contentious about putting Shadow of the Colossus
Yes, Gabe. Tell the audience.
Into the art game category?
I'm in the comments. You're biased.
Right. I guess in a similar sense that I feel Spec Ops: The Line, like the Venn diagram falls into it. I certainly feel that Colossus and Guardian go further into the Venn diagram.
Yeah.
Because what was it? The creator made Eco because he wanted a game that centered around holding hands and and that idea of intimacy. Shadow of the Colossus is standing up to impossible. So it's like standing up to impossible expectations. And triumphing in spite of it. And The Last Guardian is a it's a journey in trust and building a friendship.
Absolutely.
I definitely consider them experiences. I definitely consider them very important things to me, and I was very happy with Last Guardians. I know some people aren't as happy with it, but I mean, no one's going to be happy with Half-Life 3, so...
No, they will not.
But
in fact, at this point, I think they're better off not even making Half-Life 3. Because there's no way it'll meet people's expectations. At this point.
Very brief aside, Steam made there were people in Valve that were like, we're not going to make Half-Life 3 because it could harm the platform. It could harm Steam.
Oh, really?
It isn't
if it isn't good enough.
Yeah, if the game isn't up to expectations, so we're just not going to make it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and mind you, there are people, to my knowledge, because this has been going on for 17 years or whatever.
Yeah.
That some people are on and off the project, but that's neither here nor there.
Right.
And Half-Life Alyx is a hopeful direction for them. I hope that they round out and finish their story, because there's nothing more frustrating than an unfinished story. But
yeah, I mean, just ask all the Mega Man Legends fans. Gabe. Sorry to bring that up.
You wound me, sir.
You wound me, sir.
But yeah, I guess I would I guess I would relinquish the idea that, yeah, I would say, by the same token, that I'm making the stretch to claim that that Spec Ops: The Line is an art game, that it's not nearly as much of a stretch to say Colossus and Guardian are art games, and Eco for that matter.
Yeah, and by extension, Eco, which I would say Eco is pretty video gamey. There are definitely levels. There's definitely like a definite beginning and end. You know, there's enemies. There's all that stuff. But
yeah,
it somehow still kind of, at least slightly, falls into the art game category. More so than, say, like The Legend of Zelda or something, because it's
but what about the Wand of Gamelon? Where does it?
Well, that's definitely an art game, you know.
that is definite. Those CDI Zelda games are definitely art.
Yeah, but they're postmodernism art for sure, in that they're not supposed to be games.
You want it. It's yours, my friend.
You want it? As long as you have enough rupees. But anyway, yeah, there's just something about Eco that it challenges modern gaming conventions, whether intentionally or not. Intentionally, yeah, I'm gonna say intentionally, in order to convey a certain message. But it does kind of get me thinking, like, why don't more people consider like horror games art games? You know, because those are very against the norm. A lot of the times, or at least some of the times, they can have really interesting art styles and things like that. But I guess the real difference would be a lot of people don't play Resident Evil to have an artistic experience. They play it to survive zombie hordes and kill shit and I don't know, look at crazy monsters. So yeah, really blurring the lines between like what could and couldn't be accepted. I mean, then you have things like Proteus, right, where there's no goal at all. Like, there's no goal to that game. You walk around.
Or wait, what game?
Proteus?
Proteus. Hang on.
Yeah. It's the one. It's got like an 8-bit art style. I guess 8-bit. I don't know. It looks kind of more like Atari.
Proteus or Parodius?
Proteus, not Parodius. Sorry. Those are two very different games.
Yeah. I'm not finding. Like, the only Proteus game I'm finding is the Doom clone. Well, is the Doomish game.
It's a first person game.
This is a shooter. You are fighting things.
No. It's
pixelated blood and explosions.
God, no. There's no blood.
Okay, how do you spell it?
Proteus, I think.
Eus. Okay, the other one is spelled with a D.
No.
Proteus game? Oh.
Yeah. It's all colorful. It's got like a first person view. It's really pretty. It's a really pretty game.
Is it like is it a oh no, it seems to be procedural?
Yes. I believe it is procedurally generated. Which, for those of you who don't know, that just means it's like generated through an algorithm that the game makes up.
Yeah. It's different every time.
Yeah. And I think also, as you walk around the world in this game, the world changes in real time. and it can change like the seasons, and it's a really trippy game, but it's kind of like, oh man, what would I compare it to? Even it's like just like a walking simulator. You walk around in this world, this environment changes, before your eyes. Have you ever heard of the game called Everything, where you play as like a deer, and then you play as a molecule, and then
No, I don't believe I have. I've
No.
heard of Deer Simulator, but I don't think.
No, it's not like that. It's not that.
It's not that. For the love of God, it's not that.
Yeah. This is just kind of a game where it's like it's kind of almost like a tech demo. You know how some of those art games are like tech demos, where you kind of walk around and it shows you pretty graphics, and then you look at stuff.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. It's just meant to be a pleasant experience that you can interact with. And
Like some people call them interactive screensavers or what have you.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
it falls into that category. But again, it's definitely one of those things that I don't think you could experience Proteus outside of a video game format.
yeah, certainly not.
Yeah, and that's kind of the power of art games. Same with what I'd say with Shadow of the Colossus. There's no way you could experience Shadow of the Colossus's story or the message it has to convey through any other medium, in my opinion. Which is why I think like video game movies don't always do so well, because
The mediums are just too different.
right. Exactly. Like in Shadow of the Colossus, when you get thrown around as Wanderer, you feel that. When you take down a giant beast, you feel that. There's a sense of accomplishment, and also like regret. Yeah, lament for killing this giant ancient creature. And you just can't get that through a movie. Through someone just telling you,
Yeah.
Same with probably Spec Ops, that the fact that that's a video game makes the message it has to say more powerful.
Yeah, because you can't like in a in a book you can't convey that. So a thing that Spec Ops: The Line does, and one of its intentional artistic decisions, is that anytime you progress, you are always going down. You are always going down slopes to progress.
Oh, interesting.
Like you, and the
That's intentional, right?
yeah, you go down buildings, you go down like, you are always at a lower point, you are always at a lower physical point on the map,
Yeah, than where you were previously.
Yeah, than when you were previously.
Yeah. Okay.
And that is an extremely intentional point.
Yeah.
In the game.
Very interesting.
But yeah, let's see what else.
What else we got here? Well, I personally, what is the future for art games? Well, I don't think there's anything we're going to be able to do about art games, because people are just going to keep making art and making games, and obviously those are going to intersect at some point.
Frequently.
Frequently.
And with reckless abandon.
Yeah. I I've had my own ideas of making my own art games because I was like, well, you know, it's it's hard to make a full game, but I do have messages I want to convey, and that would be interesting. You know, a lot of people think. I say a lot of people. There are like naysayers who think art games are pointless, that they're boring, things like that.
They're boring.
I mean, yeah, but like that's the point of them isn't to be an incredible game, or I mean, the point of them isn't to be a bad game. I would hope, yeah. But you know, the point is to make like create a message for the player, that you could only experience through video games. I think that's a great idea. What I would like to see is I definitely will say anything that is done good. Obviously, there are going to be copycats. So I feel like for a while there were art games that were just like after Limbo came out and it did so well, there were so many Limbo games. You know what I mean?
Yeah, very much.
Yeah, like just like 2D side scrollers that are really dark and spooky, but are also really violent. And I mean that's fine. I get it. I like Limbo. I would say there was a point where it felt like art games kind of got oversaturated.
People trying stuff out.
Yeah. Trying similar stuff, but in a different style. And you're always going to get stuff like that. Honestly, what I would like to see with more artistic games is I would like to see more games like Cuphead that really kind of push games to their limits with artistically, like both in style and in, you know, just whatever. I would like to see a game that tries to do a different art style, like I don't know. I mean, everything's derivative, obviously, but like, maybe a game that does like a pop-up book style. That would be cool.
You mean like Paper Mario?
What is this game? I've never heard of it.
Nintendo never heard of it either.
No, they. Hey.
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Uh-oh. Hang on.
Uh-oh.
I think my audio.
No.
1 sec.
Okay. Sorry,
Wait.
folks. Technical difficulties.
Okay, you're coming through now.
I am? Okay. Did I... Sorry, did I blow your speakers from laughing too hard?
No, I don't know. You just got real quiet. Anyway.
Oh, that's weird. Anyway, yeah. That was a good one, Gabe. But whatever. I'd like to see somebody attempt to make another Paper Mario style game.
Some people have.
Some people probably have. Yeah.
Actually, there's one on Steam.
Oh, really neat.
Hang on. What's it called? It's a cast of like insect characters, but it's very blatantly using Paper Mario
as a template.
Yeah.
Yeah. At least aesthetically.
Aesthetically, yeah.
Yeah.
It's on my wish list. I'll find it.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it's called like maybe Bug Tales or something, or like Bug
Fables.
Bug Fables. Yeah, that's it.
Bug Fables: The Everlasting Sapling.
One thing I've always wanted to see is like it could be a shooter. I don't really know what style of game it would be, but a video game that like perfectly uses like that's animated like a anime, you know, or something, with an anime art style. I guess kind of like Guilty Gear, but like completely 2D animation. I think that would be really cool.
Wow. You're asking a lot.
I know. I am.
As an artist and someone who is familiar with the animation process, you are asking a lot.
I know I am. I realize what I am saying, and that it's like fucking like just pie in the sky kind of ridiculousness. This is just like we're just talking ultimate wish list now. That's what I would want to see. Like, that would be fucking cool. But again, you know, I'm not gonna make it. Unless I want to be in the insane ward, like just curled up in the fetal position. That would be. Yeah, that'd be something. It'd take years to make something like that. I don't know. I think excuse me, Lab Zero came really close with Indivisible. Indivisible is a really good looking game. A lot of animation went into that game, and so, you know, I think for art games though as a whole, I don't know. Like I said, you'll never be able to stop art games, but like, would I like to see them continue? I think so. Yeah, people always have like a different message to tell. Mm-hmm. I would say, as long as it's interesting and people are putting their best effort into it, you know, it's really all you can ask for. I was really looking forward to Y2K. I thought it would have been a cool RPG. It actually had a really cool art style too.
Yeah.
And it was going for like, it was trying to go for the 90s era as a like much in the same way that Earthbound kind of does a 50s, you know, Leave It to Beaver style setting. You know, this was also supposed to be all about the 90s, but it doesn't really give me the vibe of the 90s or the 2000s for that matter. Like, or any era, I don't know.
Right,
it just seemed modern to me. It didn't hit the mark, you know.
Yeah, it uses nostalgia.
Yeah, it uses nostalgia. That's what I can say about it. Now, big question. If you were to make an art game, what kind of art game would you make? So, Gabe flips out like a notebook. 700 pages long.
I do kind of have one in mind to a degree. We may have discussed it.
Yeah, we maybe not want to talk about it here.
No, like I'm fine talking about it. It's
okay.
It's a game. Like, I've had a couple of different game ideas from, like, it's actually Waking Nightmares.
Waking Nightmares.
Yeah, like, because in several occasions I've had, over the years I've had a lot of stress related nightmares and what have you.
Oh yeah.
And
oh dude.
A commonality that I've that I came to notice is isolation, helplessness, and helplessness, anxiety, like fear is like overarching. Obviously, the overarching obvious thing
for sure.
But there is one that stuck with me to the point that I woke up and I was like, I have to write this down, and so I basically wrote a mood piece. Like,
no kidding.
Yeah, I basically wrote a mood piece of you. Like, the game starts, you are in it's like the break room of some larger facility.
Yeah.
Like there's lockers on the wall. There's clearly like there's a table with food, or like there's a table and like there's cabinets and what have you. But like you wake up and the first thing as you look around, like there's two bulkheads, right? There's one there's one that's closed, like both are closed. But there's one to one side, and the other is not only closed, but there's just stuff like piled on, like in front of it.
Stuff like just random stuff.
Furniture, like furniture and objects just piled.
Lovely.
In front of one of them, right? Yeah, exactly. That establishes something very clear to whoever sees this situation.
Yeah.
But the you are like, this break room is safe, but looking around, you can very easily start to put together that you are running low on food. And there is the bulkhead that is not like blocked by stuff on your side. You can look through a window and all you see is a big, wide, long, and high hall.
Like it's like suspended in the air, kind of.
No, it is like it's like a maintenance. It's like a maintenance.
A maintenance tunnel kind of thing.
Yeah, maintenance tunnel kind of thing, except you can't see the roof.
Oh shit.
Yeah, you can't see the roof. It's like maybe 30 to 40 feet wide. There are two raised paths with bridges intermittently connecting, and then a lower path that is between them and much tighter. And there's a bunch of just like stuff in the lower thing. The hall, and they're more like catwalks, I should say, are the side paths that are bridged together. And beyond those catwalks are like these giant like vacuum tubes that are so you remember you've seen the oil refinery type of places. Those big towers, like the
ones that is it kind of like the ones that spout out fire?
Not all of them. But some of those large giant structures there are like multi-layered like filtering systems, or some of them are just giant vacuum tubes for the process.
To suck stuff up,
or just occupy an empty space for I don't know the process, but I just know that giant vacuums are a major part of production. So for the industrialization of the production.
Yeah.
But basically those towers are flanking the entire path, and like you can't see you can't see the ceiling, and you can't see the end of the tunnel.
But you can see those going up.
You can see those going up on either side, and like there's not enough, like the light doesn't go far enough to see the tops of them, and the light doesn't go, and the hall isn't lit further down, so you can't see how far it goes.
Oh hell no.
And it is like these catwalks are completely exposed and open, and you can see as far as the light is present, right?
Right. But you
And
can't
so-
see all the way down.
Yeah,
So
you
it just
can't-
kind of disappears into darkness at some point.
Yeah, like up, down, and forward, you can't see the end. Like you don't know how high or low or where you are, if you're underground or underwater. Like the entire intention was very, like you don't know where you are.
Right.
But this room is clearly safe, and you look outside to this hall that is partially lit, and you can't see the end, and you can't see the roof, or the ceiling.
Great.
And like your options are stay in here and
die.
possibly not get help in time,
Right.
or so that door is barricaded for a reason.
Mhm.
This door isn't barricaded, but you are exposed.
Yeah. It's
And-
not safe.
It is.
Oh god, that's giving me like fucking Silent Hill feels, like leaving any safe room.
Yeah, like it is. Like the idea is born of anxiety, and like
Yeah.
like certain versions of this dream would be so. Certain versions of this dream are like trying to get from one place to another with a group of heavily armed people,
Yeah.
but it's like Dead Space meets Aliens. And they're like the xenomorphs just keep coming.
Xenomorphs.
It is
Oh my
is
God.
some versions of those dreams. I've had several.
This is a recurring thing for you?
It not recently, but they have. But they were.
That is terrifying. Yeah, fuck that.
I guess that's like
woof.
having. Yeah, right. But yeah, just establishing a mood, establishing a tone, sticking to that tone, and reinforcing it, reinforcing this experience with reinforcing this experience through mechanics.
Yeah.
Like timing mini games, and you have to maybe you go out into the hall and you start to explore, and you see you don't see bodies or anything. You don't see,
Mm-hmm.
but you see detritus.
Yeah.
You don't see remains, but you see something has been here. Something has been here. Something was
It's
maybe
very much lived in.
kind of.
Yeah.
There's but yeah, in
That would be
order,
cool.
it is something that I want to get around to eventually.
Something I've always wanted to do is do make a fishing game, just as an example. And it's got all the mechanics for a fishing game, and there's this little pier, you can fish off of, and stuff like that, and you can move to a different spot, change your lure or your bait, but pretty soon you start to realize that you can walk from the fishing area, and as you walk away from it, you see something in the distance, and it's oh, what the hell is that? And then all of a sudden the game turns into a horror game, and something is after you. And it's like a bait and switch, pardon the pun.
Totally.
It's called Big John's Bass Pro Fishing, and then it's secretly a horror game or something. I would love to do something like that. Kind of like what they did with Doki Doki Literature Club, how that game turned out to be much more terrifying than what it gave off.
Right.
But like with a different genre of game, I don't know. That'd be fun. It would be a game that it would definitely have to be an indie project, because I couldn't see any big studio picking something like that. But yeah, that'd be cool. Or like it's like one of those sports games or something, or like a jet ski game, and then it suddenly flips genres and it's a survival horror.
Yeah.
Well, you got any closing thoughts, Gabe? Anything else you want to share?
Hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Sorry, you cut out kind of like last time, but
Whoops.
let's see.
Huh.
For closing thoughts, I think like
art is stupid, and
art is stupid.
Thank you. Finally, we can agree.
People are going to want to express themselves, and they're all going to have a very different like way of doing that.
Yeah, for sure.
People are going to intentionally make art games, and some people are going to accidentally make art games.
True, yeah. I think some games probably, like some modern games we know, probably may have even done that.
Insofar as people intentionally making strange things, or like strange interactive things to show and share with people, I think that should kind of happen more. Like, let's see.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's see what people like. I want to see more interpretations of things. I want to see more parody and homages and stuff like that.
For sure, like really push the boundaries, and I don't think people should be afraid of that.
No, certainly not.
I think people will get criticism, of course.
Like, who doesn't?
Yeah. Exactly. You just have to push past the critics, because they, like, once you get something that people can see and understand, they'll be like, oh, I get it. That's pretty cool, because not everybody's going to see your vision at first.
Yeah.
I think like with the guy that made that game, what's it called? Nightmare something?
Never-Ending Nightmares.
Never-Ending Nightmares, yeah. Like, his first attempt wasn't that good, but he pushed through it, and he made a really interesting game. I really like the art style of that game. It's got a very, like, almost, like, I don't know. It's very avant-garde, isn't it?
It's very sketchy.
Very, yeah. Like the like sketchbook style is very cool. And yeah, like just keep making fun games. I do think a lot of people who attempt to do art games unfortunately get the stigma of like people like Phil Fish, who are just jerks and who are pretentious and
yeah.
There's
unfortunately,
those types of people are always going to be louder than the ones who actually want to make something cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would love to see more. And with that, we are done, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just gonna. I don't really have anything to plug, but I will say, if you haven't already, I've been doing a lot of live streams. I'm gonna change how I'm doing these And if you haven't seen it on Twitter, I'm going to be doing these like once a month now. Yeah, monthly, because that frees up more time for me to do live streams and do art and things like that. Because video editing takes a long time. I can only imagine the people who put one of these out once a week, dude.
Right.
Like, Jesus Christ. And all that good stuff. But yeah, if whoever is listening to this like live streams, you can check that out. I'm playing a lot of different games. I'm playing a game called Little King Story, which is a Wii game that never really... I mean, it has its fans, but it's sorely underrated, and it's a really adorable RTS where you play as a king. And Gabe, I think you do live streams too, right? Or have you not done one in a while?
I haven't done one for... I've done one for friends on like their Discord, but not terribly. So nothing very public.
Yeah.
Like I'm not against it, certainly. But I just
Sure.
I feel I need someone else to like
To ride shotgun?
Yeah, exactly.
Bro, that could be me.
It could.
I would love to do that. That'd be great. But at any rate, that's going to do it, guys. Thank you for tuning in. And as always, I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Mm-hmm. Goodbye.